Gentlemen and ladies, I would like to thank you for invitation, us, my wife, and I, to this conference. Very beautiful conference. Our special words of gratitude go to Mr. President Denis Nagy. Excuse me, my English is very bad. My presentation is one outlined synthetics of planning and architectural problems in Poland. Dissemination in knowledge about the values folk architecture and their endangerment as a requirement of time, as exemplified by PodhaleRegion. Region tradition of the unique Polish PodhaleRegion, deriving on the example of the unique Polish PodhaleRegion, the author seeks to deepen the understanding of such well-known concept as region, tradition of place and cultural values in the context of environmental protection, nurturing regional culture, and the architecture of Podhale. Attraction of Podhale. The great value and attraction of Podhale are the landscapes of the Tatra mountains and their nature. The nature and landscapes of the Tatra mountains are unique in nature and landscape terms, which is why the Tatra National Park was established as early as 1955 with invaluable natural landscape in the highest parts of the Tatra mountains. Reference to past. The settlement here dates back to around the 13th century when shepherds with flocks of sheep appeared in the Tatra glades, which was connected with the wandering of tribes moving along the ridges of mountains and hills. In the 15th century, there was another colonization of the settlements by peoples of Albanian, Romanian origin, and the Southern Slavs, commonly referred to as the Wallachians. Examples of sacred buildings and their unique artistic values. Church in Łopuszna, dating from 16th century, and the interior of the 16th century church in Dębno. Very, very beautiful. This is furniture, 19th century furniture made by local artists from the Podhale region. Young flora the Podhale region, young people from the Podhale region during various celebrations, e.g. the Pars Fire in Bukowina Tatrzańska. In Gentle Fest in Bukowina Tatrzańska, characteristic regional trumpets and baptism of children. This was 1 month freer. The beauty of maintaining tradition by young people gives me hope that not everything ends. Examples of typical Podhale buildings dating from 19th century. Houses from Zakopane and Małe Ciche. Unfortunately, the single roofing has been changed to sheet metal. This is a very lead problem and precedence. Selected examples of residential houses from the real socialist period characteristic throughout Poland. This is a remnant of the times of socialism in Poland. Examples of impeccable planning and architecture. Very good example. This is a village near Zakopane, Chochołów. Stanisław Witkiewicz created the myth of the Tatra Mountains as a place of extraordinary moments, experiences inhabited by heroic, brilliant people, the Podhale Highlanders. The sign, this project, the sign of the villa in Zakopane made by Stanisław Witkiewicz. Among the various creators and research of the Podhale folk art, special mention and recognition should be given to Stanisław Witkiewicz, an enthusiast of the highland culture, Podhale and the Tatra Mountains, who was one of the first to criticize in the introduction and imitation of new styles imported mainly from Alpine countries. Chochołów and Nowy Targ. This is country Zakopane. Comparison of 19th century buildings in Chochołów and contemporary buildings from the 20th century in the Podhale region. Planning precedent is mountains areas and their pathology and the process of sprawling development in recent agriculture areas. Planning precedents, special architectural precedents that result in entropy. Architectural precedents, example of Landskorona, new buildings that do not correspond to the frontage of the market square. Sheet metal roof in a complex under conservation, protection, and ultimately a series of successive buildings covered with sheet metal that is aggressive in texture and color. Examples of the influence of developers. Examples of the influence of developers in the village structure of Bukowina Tatrzańska and location of a supermarket. A blatant example of the destruction of landscape panoramas by inappropriate architecture. Local archetypes. Contemporary attempts to refer to local archetypes. The theoretical conservation of buildings of historic value and the fate. The global process of everyday life today has new, different needs. There are still some people who want to cultivate the values of folk. However, I have the impression that for many people of today's world, this small group sensitive to the tradition of the past are mammoths of the post-glacial era. It is worth rallying here Jacek Purchlas statement, the fundament dilemma is the protection of cultural heritage, which is subject to commodification to the some extent as culture. Thus today heritage is a resource and the potential to be exploited, especially from the perspective of regional development. Thank you very much. Kosoniuk e Magyar Festwerk, Barata Sagat.